Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay, so we will continue with the object condition we started last time, and we were talking about the relation between wholesome and wholesome. So the different wholesome objects for the wholesome mind to arise. And I think we stopped somewhere here. So we talked about the one who emerges from the jhana, he reviews the jhana. That means he's reviewing the jhana factors. And then we talked about those who reach the path and fruition knowledge, those who realize Nibbana, except for the Arahant. So they also, after emerging from that experience of Nibbana, they review that experience. And that reviewing knowledge, when they review these minds which led to their experience, and they will be wholesome minds. And so this is what means this statement: learners, that means not arahants but already noble ones, review change of lineage. That's the mind, and that's the mind moment that this gotrabu or vodana that occurs just before the path. So he reviews these wholesome minds that led to the experience of Magga. Magga is just one mind moment that has a Nibbana as object and has the function of cutting or reducing the defilements forever, basically, that they will not arise again. Okay, so after this process of realizing Nibbana, one reviews what has happened, and this review, according to the commentaries, includes 5 things: the reviewing of the path, that means that cutting of the defilements, the fruition, the minds that follow, the mind moments that follow, and Nibbana, so the object of these minds, and this mind actually also has a Nibbana as object, and the eradicated defilements, and those defilements that are not eradicated yet. So of these 5 reviewing knowledges or objects for revision, so to say, the path will be a wholesome mind. So that means here, what the statement was, okay. So learners having emerged from path, they review the path. Okay, so that is this statement. And this just before the minds, the mind moments just before that is change of lineage. And actually, even though in here we call all these mind moments, they all have their own name, like preparation, access, conformity, change of lineage, or cleansing. But in fact, they're all same. They're just different really by name and by the position, maybe by the, by the position, but actually same mind. And this is why in the following attainments, when there is no path but just fruition, so say one realizes Nibbana and becomes Sotapanna, so the first time his mind process will be like that. So there will be a Magga which will cut off the doubt, cut off the identity view, cut off identity view, doubt, and so
wrong practice.
right, the attachment to wrong practices. And then there will be phala, that means the fruition knowledge that just enjoys the Nibbana. So on the following occasions when that already Sotapanna now, is experiencing the nibbana, so goes into fruition, we call it fruition attainment, there is no more maga. He's not cutting, again, already cut off. But still, before the fruition minds arise, there are some wholesome minds before that, and they're all this of the same type, and we could call them, give them all these different names also, but we can just call them one name is okay. So they call usually conformity. So this is just to say these are different letters, different names, but actually quite same mind. I mean, same type of mind, not same type. All right. So this is for reviewing. So reviewing means just a simple sense sphere mind door process that takes as object these wholesome minds, and whatever associated states with these minds. All right, so then we go further, and the text goes on to give us more objects for the wholesome mind to arise, more wholesome objects for the wholesome mind to arise. So learners or worldlings practice, when they practice insight, that is vipassana, into the impermanency, suffering, and impersonality of life, of the wholesome state. This is one relationship. So when we practice vipassana, that is when we are seeing the anicca, dukkha, anatta of the wholesome phenomena. So when we are seeing anicca, dukkha, anatta, we have wholesome mind, and the object is wholesome. So wholesome phenomena, we see how it perishes, how it arises. We see its unsatisfactoriness, and it being there being no self. This is another occasion when a wholesome mind has a wholesome object. The next one is by the knowledge of penetration into others' minds, they know the wholesome mind of the other beings. This is one of the supernormal powers. So one, literally by enveloping another's mind with his own mind, he knows his mind. So say to know by the normal power, for me to know others' mind, I have to, first of all, of course, I have to develop very sharp mind, good concentration. And then, so the mind is concentrated as a wholesome mind. And with that wholesome mind, I can direct my mind to the other's mind. And if the mind of another is a wholesome mind, so in such a case, the object of my mind is a wholesome object. So we have this ku to ku, again, relationship. And the next two are related to immaterial attainments. And it reads like that: wholesome base of infinity of space is related to wholesome of base infinity of consciousness by object condition. And then the next one is wholesome base of nothingness is related to wholesome base of neither perception nor non-perception by object condition. So to understand that, we have to know a little bit about the immaterial attainments. So we have fine material jhanas, and after fine material jhanas, we have immaterial attainments. So I tabulated it just to show the objects of these consciousnesses. So first one is the base of infinity of space, and in practice, it is obtained by one developing, first of all, kasina, that is a color, taking a color as an object or an element as an object, a concept of an element as an object, and expanding it infinitely. So one has this infinite, limitless object. And then one one determines to remove it, and when one removes it, only infinite space remains. So when one directs his mind to that infinite space, he can get the attainment of the base of infinity of space. And this is called the first immaterial jhana. And further, to go to the second attainment, one directs his mind to the consciousness, to this very consciousness that had this infinite space as an object, and pays to it attention as infinite consciousness. So this consciousness is wholesome for not arahant. So the only exception would be arahant. This is why in the text actually it should have been said that this is true for, it started, okay, so let's go back a little bit. So it started learners or common worldlings, so not arahants. They practice vipassana, they may know the minds of others. So, and these practices of immaterial jhanas, this is about learners and common worldlings. This is a wholesome consciousness, and it takes as its object this consciousness. So again, we have a relationship between wholesome and wholesome. And then the third, the base of nothingness, the object of that is the absence of first material sphere. So one emerges, one already is not in the first attainment. So it's not there anymore, and one pays attention to its absence, and like in a way, by way of like there is nothing. It's not there. There is nothing, and this is called the base of nothingness. And when one takes this consciousness, the consciousness that knew there is nothing, as an object, one attains the fourth immaterial attainment, the base of neither perception nor non-perception. Okay, so again, this was wholesome, and this is wholesome, and again we have this relationship between wholesome and wholesome. Okay, so I hope that's clear. And the next one is maybe also a little bit, this one, not much we can practice of it, but at least in theory we can know. And I'll read it. Wholesome aggregates are related to knowledge of supernormal power, knowledge of penetration into others' mind, knowledge of remembrance of past existences, knowledge of rebirth according to one's karma, and knowledge of future existences by object condition. So these are all supernatural, so-called abhinyas, actually the higher knowledges that one can get after developing strong concentration. And what I have done, I have picked up some descriptions of these powers from the suttas, just for maybe if you're curious, or maybe it's interesting to know what it actually means. So, okay, so what is this supernormal powers? Okay, having been one becomes many, and having been many, he becomes one. He can appear and vanish, and he goes unimpeded through walls, ramparts, mountains, as if through space. He dives in and out of the earth as if it was water. He walks on water without sinking in, like Jesus Christ, I don't know, as if it were earth. Sitting cross-legged, he travels through space like a winged bird. Many stories in Myanmar, like monks flying like this. Okay. With his hand, he touches and strokes the sun and the moon, so mighty and powerful. He exercised mastery over the body as far as the Brahma world. That means that he can go even with his body as far as the Brahma world. So these are different supernormal powers. So the relationship here is wholesome aggregates are related to knowledge of supernormal powers. So to attain all this, one has to practice all the attainments of concentration, mixing them and jumping and many different ways. So he has to make his mind very pliable and very workable, so he can do nearly everything and very quickly. And then basically by practicing kasinas, and then he can determine one element as another, and say to walk on the water, one can practice the earth kasina and determine the water to be earth, and then can he walk. And all these practices are actually described in detail how to do that in Visuddhimagga, so you can try if you like. But I have not heard actually anybody teaching this kind of powers. Have you? So actually, I mean, how far?
I don't know whether it's teaching this one or just teaching to sharpen the concentration. I'm not sure. There are people talking different ways.
Yeah, but I mean, 14 ways. Okay, that they teach, but I mean, actually, to apply to
some people,
having been one, become many, and or walking on water, and going through walls. So I'm not sure. Maybe, but we are not aware. But the method is there. It's all described quite in detail. So in this procedure, when one has to take when the object of the mind becomes some wholesome aggregates, again we have this relationship between wholesome mind and wholesome aggregates as object. And the next one is the knowledge of others' minds. Okay. Oops. So he understands the minds of other beings and persons, having encompassed them with his own mind. He understands a mind with lust as a mind with lust, and mind without lust as the mind without lust. He understands a mind with hatred as a mind with hatred, and mind without hatred as a mind without hatred. He understands a mind with delusion as a mind with delusions, and a mind without delusion as a mind without delusion. He understands a contracted mind as a contracted mind, and as a distracted mind as a distracted mind. He understands an exalted mind as an exalted mind, and he understands an unexalted mind as an unexalted mind. He understands a surpassable mind as a surpassable mind, and unsurpassable mind as an unsurpassable mind. He understands a concentrated mind as a concentrated mind, and an unconcentrated mind as an unconcentrated mind. He understands a liberated mind as a liberated mind, and an unliberated mind as an unliberated mind. So you may remember this or maybe not, but this is very much the same description of we find in Satipatthana Sutta on Chitta-Anupasana. So, but in Chitta-Anupasana, in Satipatthana Sutta, what we have, so he knows his mind, with his own mind, he knows that in his mind there is this state of, and there is lust. Okay, so he knows there is lust. There is no lust, he knows there is no lust. But here we have that the same things, but one knows about others' mind. And I think in the commentaries there are they divide this ability to know to different levels. So we can know if one has lust. Even you don't need a psychic power to know if one has lust when he actually expresses it with his actions or his words. You don't need to know this. You can see, or sometimes even if we look on the face of a person, we can say what state of mind he's in. So this is one kind of knowledge, but here what is meant that one knows for sure. So by encompassing one mind, and I just highlighted these minds which are wholesome. So no lust, no hatred, no delusion. This is a wholesome object of that knowledge of the mind of others. And then exalted mind means the mind. Concentrated jhana mind is exalted mind, and surpassable mind and unsurpassable mind. So unsurpassable, again, these are jhana minds, and these are lokutara Bhuktara minds.
Supramundane.
Supramundane minds, so the Maga and Pala minds. Okay, unsurpassable are all the rest, so they can be either wholesome or unwholesome. So I just put this middle color, I don't know, because it can be both. And okay, concentrated is a wholesome mind, unconcentrated mind too. This is how I think that unconcentrated mind can also still can be wholesome and can be unwholesome. So it can be both. Right, so wholesome aggregates are related to knowledge of penetration into others' mind. So that's that. And the next one is knowledge of remembrance of past existences. He recollects his numerous past lives, that is 1 birth, 2 birth, 3, 4, 5 birth, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 birth, 1,000 births, 100,000 births, many eons of world contraction, many eons of world expansion, many eons of world contraction and expansion. Recollecting, there I had such a name, belonged to such a clan, had such an appearance, such was my food, such my experience of pleasure and pain, such my span of life. Passing away from that state, I re-arose there. There too I had such a name, belonged to such a clan, had such an appearance, such was my food, such my experience of pleasure and pain, such my span of life. Passing away from the state, I re-arose here. Thus, he recollects his numerous past lives in their modes and their details. So this is one of the knowledge that arose in the Buddha just before he got enlightened. And seeing this this journey from life to life to life to life, but regarding to our wholesome objects. So what we want to pick out from this description is what is wholesome object. So it's not name, it's not a clan, it's not food, because name, clan, appearance, this is all just concepts. So they are neither wholesome nor unwholesome. Food also is just matter, it's abhyakata. So, but when we look in this experience of pleasure and pain, so I think when we see our experiences, when one sees who is actually practicing this, when one sees experience, that can be wholesome, unwholesome. So when he recollects some wholesome experience in the past life, then the object is wholesome. That is what meant wholesome aggregates are related to knowledge of remembrance of past existences. Okay, and the next one combines two. It's in the Patana. It is named as knowledge of rebirth according to one's karma and knowledge of future existences. But in suttas, this comes under only one title. One title is divine eye. So divine eye is described in the following way. He sees beings passing away and reappearing, inferior and superior, beautiful and ugly, fortunate and unfortunate, and he understands how beings fare according to their karma. Thus, these beings who were endowed with bad conduct of body, speech, and mind, who reviled the noble ones, held wrong views, and undertook actions governed by wrong views, with the breakup of the body after death, have reappeared in the plane of misery, the bad destinations, the lower realms, in hell. But these beings who were endowed with good conduct of body, speech, and mind, who did not revile the noble ones, held right views, and undertook actions governed by right views, with the breakup of the body after death, have reappeared in the good destinations in the heavenly world. He understands how beings fare in accordance with their karma. So according to Visuddhimagga, this description encompasses both the past and the future, the knowledge of the past and the future. And what is wholesome here, I have highlighted, is just the good conduct, wholesome conduct, body, speech, and mind, and right views, and actions governed by right views. So, and in the text, it comes as kusala kanda, yatha kamo paga jnanasa, anagatam sa jnanasa, armana pachena pachena. So that will be all for the wholesome objects, the wholesome minds. But then we go to the next section, and the next section is the wholesome to unwholesome. That means that wholesome dhammas are conditioning the unwholesome mind, the unwholesome dhammas, that's unwholesome mind, by object condition. So before that, we saw how wholesome states condition the arising of the wholesome mind by object condition. Now we see the same wholesome state conditioning the unwholesome minds to arise by object condition. Okay, so the first is the general statement. Oh, I have not corrected it, sorry. Kusala dhamma, kusala sadhamma sa aramana pachayana pachaya. So the wholesome state, sorry, is related to wholesome state by object condition. And then we have the examples, the elaboration. So after having offered the offering, dhanam datva, having undertaken the precept, silam samadhiyitva, having fulfilled the duty of observance, uposata kamam katava, one enjoys and delights in it. Tam asaditi abhinandati. And then taking it as an object, arises lust, arises wrong view, arises doubt, arises restlessness, arises grief. So tam arabha, raga upajiti, ditya upajiti, vichikicha upajiti, udacham upajiti, domanasam upajiti. Okay, and the next one is connected to this one, so I'll read on. Pobe suchnanya saditya abhinandati. So one enjoys and delights in such acts formally well done. And tam arabharago pajiti, dityo pajiti, vichikicho pajiti, udachamo pajiti, domanasamo pajiti. So taking it as object, arises lust, arises strong views, arises doubt, and arises restlessness, arises grief. Okay, so here, one is doing all these good things. We have seen actually one doing all these good things previously. But in previous case, what was the difference? One just reviewed the previously done good actions as being wholesome, only that. But here, the difference is one enjoys and delights in it. And the commentary says, I personally, when I read asaditi abhinandati, it in Pali actually it has this shade of unwholesomeness. This means unwholesome enjoyment and delighting. But in general sense, we still can enjoy and delight in the kusala, I think. So I put it in something in between, color in between. But the commentary specifies that this enjoys and delights means the somanasa sahagata loba, loba mulachita. So those rooted in great consciousness with a pleasant feeling, with the pity. This is what refers these two words. So that's already we have unwholesome consciousness with a wholesome object. And then taking further on, taking the same object, the same object, arises lust and arises wrong view and doubt and restlessness and grief. So lust is here just means like intense craving, and wrong views. Of course, if we're looking that I have done, this is my dana, or this is my, or I'm so wonderful. So all the kinds of ditthi can arise very easily. Or if one is not sure about whether this was good or this was not good, or well done, not well, different kinds of doubts can arise, and doubt is an unwholesome state. Okay, and restlessness in the same way. And grief may arise on the account of missing an opportunity to do. So one may could have done, but have not done. So he may regret may arise. So this is what means domanassa here. And the next paragraph that just repeats the same, because again, like in the kutuku relationship we had, these are just the example of wholesome deeds, and all the other that we just have not named, they included here. And the same holds true to them. If one is just, if one enjoys and delights and think, wow, wonderful, it just means we are satisfied with what we have done completely. I am so great. Keep Sila so well. I'm so wonderful. You know, rather than investigating the states that did arise in the past and seeing the relationship of the cause and effect, one just with a greed looks at what has occurred previously. Okay, and so the whole lot of different akusala states can arise. Okay, and then the next one is that's just the continuation of the same relationship between wholesome and unwholesome. So having emerged from jhana, one enjoys and delights the jhana. Taking it jhana as object arises lust, wrong views, doubt, and restlessness. So the same. One thing. This is very normal, and maybe it's unavoidable, nearly, unless you had such a good parami that you attain jhana instantly. How just you started practice and you attain, but many they try so hard, maybe for many years, and sometimes they do succeed, and it's quite difficult, I think, in that case, to avoid this. That finally I got it, to enjoy and delight, but that will be with greed. But maybe never mind. Later we will see that actually the unwholesome states can also support the arise, the wholesome states to arise. So never mind. But yeah, there is this relationship we have to be aware of it. So if we are delighting in and enjoying the jhana, and we can get attached to it. And moreover, I think for those who are not familiar thoroughly with the teachings, different wrong views can arise. Oh, this is limitless I, or this is God, or whatever they can describe the experience in different ways. Or have doubt about the experiences, and as a consequence, restlessness. And then the next one is jhana parihinya. So when jhana has disappeared, so when one fell away from jhana, one regrets it, and thereby arises grief. Even there are suttas when some disciples come to the Buddha and they express this kind of grief, and they say, "Oh, previously I could attain this and that, and now I'm sick and I don't get anything." And then Buddha asked them, is that attainment is the essence of the teaching? And they say no. Right. So in such a case, there is no need to regret. Okay. So that's the last example from the text about how wholesome object can condition the arising of the unwholesome object. So that's all I have for today for the lecture. But just before the lecture, Marika sent some question, and we are going to look at that. So she has a question about the bhavanga state. If I understand it right, this state is the same throughout the life. Yes, correct. Somewhere during the lesson, I understood that Pia also mentioned that one can develop wisdom to arise in the bhavanga state. So I was wondering if I understand it right, that the state is actually not the same throughout the life, and that one can work on it. And I was also wondering if then more delusion can also be developed in this state during life. So what I meant last time when I was talking about wisdom being in bhavanga, I didn't mean changing what we have now. What we have now, we already have. We already got it when we were born. Bhavanga, the type of mind that arose at the rebirth, it is the same throughout the life until death. But what we can do, we can condition the next Bhavanga. And the next Bhavanga means the future life, right? So only that. And yes, well, can we put there more delusion? Can. Can put more wisdom, more delusion, what you like. But not in this life. Now, even though I say the Bhavanga state is same throughout the life, same in the sense of the type of mind. So the type of mind is same. So that mind will have the same object, and if it is with pity, if it has pity, that is has joy associated with it, so it will have it throughout the life. It cannot change. If it has wisdom, okay, it will have it, the wisdom throughout life, cannot change. But say the intensity of the factors can change. So this is why when we are showing the mental processes, say for example here, why are we writing vibrating Bhavanga, arresting Bhavanga? Somehow we highlight them. We don't just write Bhavanga, 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 Manodvara, Vachana, and Javana. No, we say vibrating Bhavanga. What does it mean, vibrating? Or arresting Bhavanga. Actually, these two also, they are quite the same in their nature. This is called arresting Bhavanga just because this is the last Bhavanga before the mind turns to the external object. But these both are a little bit, this line is not so true, it's a little bit different from this Bhavanga, in the sense that the new object already here, the new object appeared, the external object appeared. So the mind is already not so deeply absorbed with the object of Bhavanga, because the object of Bhavanga is same all the time. But now the mind kind of on the way to turn to the object, so it's already not so strongly with the object, with Bhavanga's object. So in that sense, it's not same, and the mind is constantly changing now, but it's the same type. So, and if we can change, what we can change, we can only change for the future. So we can change we can influence, by influencing our javanas, our active mind. So to be wholesome, we can, and to be with wisdom, and to do our kusala happily, and being determined on it before, during, and being happy about it after, we can condition our future Bhavanga to be with happiness, and our future Bhavanga to be with wisdom. So that's the answer. And less than 1 minute left. And so that's all for today. And I just wish you a very good Sunday.
Thank you. Thank you for the lesson. Very, very helpful. Thank you. Okay.